Sewing on buttons, like we have done here in our PFAFF Stitching Cosmos online course, is so easy you don't even use a presser foot on the PFAFF Ambition 610 sewing machine. Now we were just doing buttonholes where we once again get creative by actually running ribbon through buttonholes as something decorative. So if you want to learn more about your machine, check out the links below this YouTube video where we do all sorts of sewing techniques and presser feet. So on this machine, you are going to notice stitch number 24 is the stitch we will use to sew on buttons. Now I've just finished doing buttonholes, so our buttonhole foot is still on. So we'll take that off. We have disengaged the IDT, which you'll still need disengaged for this particular technique, but we also had that little lever still pulled down, so I want to make sure that goes all the way back up. I'm also noting there's this new symbol that looks like our feed dogs are down. And yes, I always lower my feed dogs when I go to stitch on buttons. So slide the accessory box off, reach behind your machine, and there is a lever back here, and you're going to push the lever to the right or towards the inside of the machine. And it's going to be a little stiff, so give it a good little push until you hear the click. I told you it's stiff. There you go. Now here's a little note. When you're done sewing buttons, make sure you take and bring those feed dogs back up by bringing the lever to the left. Now once you do that, those feed dogs do not come up until you actually take a stitch. So whether you touch the needle up down button or turn your hand wheel or just pretend or just sew, they'll come up. So right now I'm making sure that they are down, and they are. I mentioned that there's no presser foot, which is awesome. That makes life is really easy. We made this buttonhole from the size of this button, so I'm going to just take that particular button and I'm going to show you how we stitch it on. Very easy. So the stitch width is set up at 4. How does the machine know that that's the size of width of holes in my button? Well, here's the trick. About 99% of all buttons have that same width of cutout. Now there's some that are a little bigger and some that are a little smaller, but you can adjust the width for any of those very unique sizes. But all in all, it's an optical illusion that some look bigger and some look smaller. So we'll start with that. The other thing that you can adjust is how many times back and forth through the hole does it actually go. It says times 8, that's a default amount. You can have it 10 times, 12, you could also reduce it if you want. I'll tell you 8 is a nice amount. Next, if you are looking to actually use this to be buttoned onto something, you're going to need some type of extra shank of thread so it's not stitched directly flat to the fabric, and that's what the multi-purpose tool can do. It can provide that little spacer when we sew it on. But if you're like me and often add buttons as a decorative touch, you're just going to go ahead and stitch it right in place. Move the button to your position, and then do you notice the needle's a little bit on the left side? So hint, when you come over to where you're going to start, and I always start on the holes closest to me, is bring the needle by hand down into the left hole. Once you have sunk the needle into the fabric through the button, lower the presser foot. Now we're just going to double check the swing of that particular stitch and make sure that the needle goes into the hole. Once you've checked the swing, you can use the start-stop button or your foot control to stitch out the rest of the sequence. Little locking stitches means it's done. And then here, I'll just reach back and slide to the back set of holes and pretty much repeat. Test the swing of the needle and stitch one more time. It is that easy. Now sometimes I like to just put a little drop of fray check or fabric glue on those threads. Then I don't ever have to worry about them coming out after I have cut my threads. Kind of seals those little threads up. But how quick and easy is that to sew buttons on with your machine? Now don't forget to bring those feed dogs back up.